when I post my content, it seems like all of the same people are responding to it each time, and nobody new is. And the people who I've chosen through all the painstaking work to choose my avatar are not responding to it. And I don't know how to target them. If any of this resonates, you're going to really enjoy this conversation that I had with Steven today, who's a part of my mentorship where we work backwards in this hot seat conversation from his problem of the people that he's decided he wants to target aren't the people who he's been able to access up until now through his content on social media. And so I think that you'll enjoy the process that I work through with him and the questions that I ask him. And I hope that it helps you. So please enjoy it. Cool. All right. So, Steven, you know the drill. If you can really quick, just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what we're talking about today. We'll get rolling.
Sure. Let's do it. So I'm Steven. I typically work with rehab clients, typically people between 30 and 50 that are already pretty active, just looking to be able to enjoy their favorite sports and hobbies without having to worry about pain. So they're already usually pretty experienced with fitness and exercise, definitely not something new, but just trying to get their aches and pains down, especially as they age, so that they're feeling good and able to just do what they want, whether it's running, jujitsu, lifting, you name it.
Cool. So what are we talking about today?
So the big issue I'm finding is that I don't feel like I'm reaching this avatar with like the people I'm DMing. Like for example, I did my launch now 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I DM'd like over 200 people. And I booked maybe 8 calls from that total, like 4 during the week and 4 afterwards. So I felt like that conversion rate was quite low. And I feel even the people that I am getting on enrollment calls with, like maybe 1 or 2 out of those 8 were my ideal client avatar. So I feel like there's a disconnect somewhere, whether it's within the stuff that I'm posting, the people I'm messaging, or something where something's falling through the cracks where I don't feel like the conversion is where it should be. So it's just trying to figure out, yeah, where that hole is and figure out what I can do about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's work backwards. So how did you build the audience that you produce the content for that?
Well, I mean, I've been posting content mostly on Instagram, and it also goes onto Facebook, but I've been posting content for like 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say only relatively recently, as I've really narrowed it down to like this rehab base and trying to post more for my avatar. So definitely was more general before, even probably like a year ago. And so I have like built an audience in that sense. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm reaching the right people or growing it enough or reaching new people enough too, to some degree, because I find even the people that are interacting with the content, um, they're pretty much the same people that were interacting 6 months ago and so on.
Right. Yeah, that's not an uncommon problem. Tell me about somebody you worked with who, if you were to kind of close your eyes and you were just like, all right, this is the person for me. This is the person where I can have the biggest impact. This is the person who had good reasons for doing it, understood the reasons for doing it. I mean, in your market with rehab, I got to think that there's a lot of people that are going to go into this kind of either like really hurt, and so thinking that they need surgery or physio or chiro or something, or not hurt that much, and so the pain isn't that bad, even though they should take care of themselves before they get hurt. There's other things more pressing. You're kind of in that awkward in between. So, I mean, first of all, is that accurate? You tell me.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
So,
Because yeah.
I mean, that's part of the problem, right? But so, who is it then? Who have you worked with where you'd be like, damn, if every single person was like this person, and you could make up a fake name for them, but I want them to be one person.
Sure. So I can think of one really good example that encompasses the person that I work with. So it was um, this happened to be an older woman. She had serious lower back pain
Mm-hmm.
for probably the last decade of her life, and she was in her early 60s at this particular point. And she had seen every physio, every chiro, seeing a specialist at a pain clinic, and they were really just kind of masking her symptoms, just treating the pain, but not actually why it was there in the first place. And so I started working with her as a referral from one of my clients that I was already working with at the time. It was her mother, and we just worked through, some assessment and getting her moving again and getting her stronger. And like within 3 months, like she was able to do things that she never thought she'd be able to do, and she wasn't bedridden with pain. She canceled every physio appointment she had in the future because she was perfectly fine. So she was able to get out of pain, become stronger, and now like fitness and building strength are a part of her life, and she's doing it for the first time over 60.
Anybody else here like 15 golden nuggets in there? So let's go deeper. What could she not do when she was in pain?
She could barely function. Some days she was in bed all day, literally couldn't get up and do her day-to-day tasks.
What are some of her day-to-day tasks that she likes to do?
Well, she was retired, so it was just simple things like cleaning the house, doing groceries, cooking, preparing meals, things like that.
Even something like, in quotes, I couldn't even clean the house.
Yeah.
I couldn't even clean the house, ... Now I fired my physio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she was a referral. I mean, first of all, we don't quite have time to like dive super deep into her, but I think she's your bread and butter because she's got real reason not to do it. I mean, I think about my mother who's not in her 60s, she's in her late 70s, but she was always active, but she never lifted weights. And she's osteoporotic and can't play with her grandkids the way that she'd like to. I mean, she's able to be around them for sure, but she's nervous because the kids don't kind of wild sometimes and like can pull at adults and stuff like that. And if they do that and pull her down, it could seriously damage her. Um, that's pretty meaningful, I would think, to a 60-year-old woman who wants to avoid all those things. So if you dial it down to this woman, then a whole bunch of opportunities start to open up themselves, don't they? You start to say, okay, well, there are certain publications that these women read. There's certainly, I mean, content, yes, but it might be hard to kind of find them through content. I mean, I think you can tell stories for sure, but I think your stories aren't your face talking to a camera. I think what you're doing is you're showing this woman. Lee Boyce had a good example of this the other day. Let me share my screen here. I'll put you in here so you can see your account.
Yep.
So Lee did this, and I really liked it. Yeah, this post. Deborah's a 69-year-old office job worker who has zero experience with strength training when she started training with me in February. Like, check out this post by him. Because everybody then goes in and they celebrate Deborah. And then everybody's thinking about their mother, call them their Deborahs, that's looking at this thing and saying, shit, I want my mom to be badass like Deborah. That's why I love this stuff. It can't be about you. It has to be about them. And it can only be about them when you know the one person it needs to be about. Who's your Deborah? And to me, it's this woman. I mean, I don't think Lee even did a particularly good job here in terms of getting into the specifics of why it matters. And even then, you can see just how much this like, you look at his content, 151 plays, 0 comments, 54 likes, 0 comments, 315, 12 comments, 101. Yeah, that had a bunch of comments, but it's like a fill in the blank, so it's like useless. Videos of him like 200 likes, 11 comments. And then this video, 919 likes, 73 comments. And Lee is like a well-known guy. Like he's a great educator, super smart. But who gives a shit about him? I want to know about Deborah, man. Deborah is the inspiration. Lee isn't the inspiration. Now, Lee is an inspiration because he blew out both of his knees and rehabbed himself, but that's a whole nother story. But Deborah is the inspiration. And so in terms of content, I mean, I always think that number one, like talk about these people because they're special. But then once you have that one person, once you have your Deborah, I don't know what your woman's name is, so I'm just going to call her Deborah. Once you have your Deborah, then you like ask her like straight up. You'd be like, yo, Deborah, what magazines do you read? Yo, Deborah, what do you do on weekends? Oh, you play bridge? Oh, cool. Oh, there's other women who play bridge there too, aren't there? Oh, awesome. I wrote this story about you. You want to share it with him? I mean, just like, what do you do? Because other people like her are going to be where she is. And she, like, if somebody says to her, hey, you know, you're not going to physio anymore? God, I don't want to go to physio anymore. What are you doing? Oh, I've been working with Steve and he's awesome. Like, you don't need to do shit anymore. Like, you're done. Like, you've sold, right? You don't need to DM anybody. To me, the DMs and stuff like that are like a last ditch resort. And it all starts with finding that one person, finding that Deborah, and going super deep into who that is. And yes, like absolutely showcase the profile of them, but more than anything else, even just the littlest bit of asking you, like, hey, tell me about her. God, there were so many nuggets there, like firing the physio. Like, I went to see a chiro for a long time, and I'll tell you, man, I was ecstatic when I got to fire my chiro. I like my chiro. I don't want to see him anymore. You know, that's and so those types of lines I think are really, really good. How does that all land?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I've been talking with Krista a lot about like doing more local networking and things like that, like more grassroots stuff as opposed to just like messaging a bunch of people on social media. So that's definitely something I need to do more of.
Yeah, I mean, if you message people on social media, you're just somebody else on social media, and so it could work, and it does work to some extent. But there's no reason why you're different versus if you put out a post like what Lee put out with Deborah. How many people that like you've got like 9,000 followers, you've got a lot of people following you. They're probably not 60-year-old women who aren't currently working out. I mean, this is the misnomer here is the majority of people who follow a social media account are already doing the thing that social media account is professing to do. The easiest way to sell to somebody is to sell to somebody something that they're already doing. It's actually really, really hard to try to convince somebody to change what they're doing and start something new. But what you can do is you can appeal to people through your content that are already doing that thing, that already think that way. Because you don't even have a chance to change somebody's mind on the internet. They're just never going to see you. And so what you do is you appeal to people who already believe and think the way that you do. And then you make them think about other people in their life. That might be a good fit. So, I mean, if I were to post something like what Lee posted about with Deborah there, I would say, hey, anybody here following, it's got a mother who they want to kick butt just like Deborah, drop me a line. Or, you know, DM me the word kick-ass moms or whatever. I don't know. Thank you so much for listening. Hope that you enjoyed that conversation with Stephen. Real quick, that conversation was part of a hot seat for my high-end mentorship. This is where we take people who are already doing at least $1,000 a month and we help them scale. So if you're an online coach, you're looking for a little bit of help in that department with your clients, with generating new business, then you can send me a message, just a DM on Instagram that just says mentor, and we'll have a conversation with you, see if it's right. In the meantime, I want to recommend another episode to you. episode number 30, if you're listening, if you're looking for something to listen to. It's called Are We About to See the Influencer Bubble Burst? I don't really need to tell you more about it. Hope that you enjoy it. Hope that it's meaningful for you. That's episode 30. Are we about to see the influencer bubble burst? Enjoy.